All right, podcast time. No Jerry today, so I've got Eddie Scozzare with me. Good morning, Eddie.
Hello, podcast people and YouTube person.
So this is interesting because I had planned on doing this topic with Jerry before I knew even that Jerry was out, but this is actually probably even more fitting for you.
Okay.
A thing happened had to be earlier this week that involved also Sean Marash got in the mix on this, and it involved John Boy Media, who does Sean Marash works with them doing the Talking Giants podcast.
Okay.
They do Talking Yankees. They're what we call a new media company. They do podcasts and this sort of thing. So they had posted on Twitter that they posted this, the Talking Giants podcast. We are looking for an intern for the off season. Help us cover free agency, the draft, and more. Former intern Julian set a high bar. Come hang out with me in New York City. So when people clicked on the job description, there's a link to apply. It is an unpaid internship.
Okay.
People went nuts that it was an unpaid internship. So people are going, I'm going to read just some of the reaction on Twitter they got. You're exactly the reason why people regret wanting to work in sports. An unpaid internship in person in New York City, using an intern to help you make a profit and not giving them a paycheck is insane. Unpaid? That's a sad look. This is so nasty. Not paying people in this economy? To which Sean Marash could not believe. You know, Sean Marash, a guy who came up through the WFAN internship program. Unpaid. Now, over the years, you used to run for many years. You ran the internship program here. When we were owned by CBS, if I believe I have this correctly, that somebody sued CBS television for agreeing to do an unpaid internship and then suing them for not getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
To which CBS, which was owning us at the time, decided, okay, we have to now do paid internships. And then that got taken away from you. Somebody more corporate was doing it. Now, the issue here is that, like, okay, well, when you hear this response now, it's 2026. What are your thoughts in these responses to the unpaid internship in this economy in 2026?
I certainly understand why things have changed. The WFA internship was never one that relied on our interns to get work done, where if the interns weren't there, we were in trouble. That was never the case. The interns were a supplement. They helped us for sure, but they also learned, and many of our part-time and then full-time and now hosts, they were former interns.
They all came up through the internship program.
Now, of course, that's a small percentage of the total number of interns, but still it's a better percentage than like college basketball players making the NBA, that's for sure. If you look around our staff, it is, past and present, is littered with former interns. So I believe our internship was beneficial for us and for them. And really not because of the work they did when they were interns. It was beneficial for us because it was an employee screening program for us. So, and we got a 3-month look at someone to see if they were going to be good employees or could be good employees. And the interns did get college credit, and they got the experience and hopefully the fun of working here. But there were other companies, not even necessarily in media, other companies in other industries that they really use their interns as employees during the summertime, especially for summer vacation filling.
Where they were working a shift that would have gone to somebody who was paid.
Right. Or they were doing work that was, sort of necessary for that company to make it through when their other employees were not there. And that is abuse, in my opinion. We never did that. If our intern didn't show up for a shift, it didn't affect us, didn't affect our product at all. We only had one intern per shift, so it wasn't like, we needed 5 kids here or whatever. And that also, I thought having one per shift created an environment because everybody's personality was different. So if you had a type A personality, real go-getter who could potentially dominate someone who had a meeker personality or a more quiet person, I didn't want that quieter person to be dominated and, be invisible compared to the stronger personality. So I but I do understand because of the abuses, not any sexual abuse, just sort of working them and making them do all this critical work for whatever company it is. I understand why it sort of came to a head and really it's, stopped being a thing, unpaid internships. And when you add in an internship in Manhattan with the congestion pricing, if you're going to drive, or just the commuting cost and the time involved in commuting into New York City, unless you live in Manhattan, it's substantial. So I am much like with the college athletes now, and it's really the pendulum that has seemingly has swung too far to the other side. But with this NIL now, I thought for years that college athletes should have been paid above and beyond their tuition, which is substantial amount of money for some of these schools, the tuition, but still the amount of revenue that the college football and basketball generate, they deserve a piece of that. So I understand it and I do support the way things have evolved and changed.
Now, one of the things I always think about the difference between when you were running the internship program when it was unpaid and now that there are paid internships,
Hmm.
it felt like there were a lot more interns at the radio station.
Yes.
And now because they're paid, the number of opportunities for people to get some experience has dwindled down because we can't have as many people
Hmm.
getting paid as we could have not getting paid. So to get your foot in the door somewhere, your opportunities have shrunk because of having to pay interns.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one factor, yes, and also because when corporate took over, at least for us, my internship program was set up where, say, in the summertime when kids are not in school, and so can work an overnight shift and or a weekend shift. I had it set up to where there were 4 shifts every day: midnight to 6 a.m., 6 a.m. to noon, noon to 6 p.m., 6 p.m. to midnight, and there was one intern in each shift, you know, all 7 days.
And they rotated.
Well, no, they had a schedule based on if they had a part-time job or
Oh,
whatever they
okay.
were doing, which I kinda, coordinated, and they had a schedule. These are your 3 shifts for the summer, and I tried to give everybody either a weekend or an overnight, and then a daytime shift, either morning or afternoon to sort of see the place when, there were, the full staff was here.
The bigger shows.
Yeah, and also, like, just the whole environment, like, with sales, not that sales comes in anymore, but you know what I mean, and see the whole station working in the daytime hours, and then also an evening shift or a, afternoon shift on the weekends when the editing was, there was a lot more editing to do, so opportunity to learn. In the overnight shift, I would have them sit in with the producer board up and screen calls and learn how to screen calls and learn how to maybe even run the board if they were showed an interest in that. So I think they did get a lot out of it. And because of, I brought in 10 interns, I brought in 9 programming and 1 production intern in the summer. So that's 10. And in the spring and the fall, I didn't have overnight shifts, but I was still able to bring in 7 programming and 1 production intern, which is a little different, but still, it was a valuable internship. So I had 20, how many was that? What's the math? 26 interns a year.
Wow.
And now I think we have 3 in the summer only.
Yeah. So it
And
goes from 26 to 3.
and the reason I had them work weekends and overnights is because that's what ground floor radio is. That's where you're going to start working holidays and weekends and overnights. So to show them what it was really like. But now it's just the 3 kids, and it shifts all during like business hours, which is not reality
Right.
for our business.
Right. That's not what you could expect if you got a job.
Correct. But when corporate took over, that's what they decided to do, is just have it all be these shifts during the daytime. And in my view, the way it was much more valuable than what it has become, is for the kids themselves in terms of learning and doing things. But that's just one old man's opinion.
I did see one interesting, Sean Marash was going back and forth with people about this. Sean came through the internship program unpaid and talked about his struggles of getting here and doing all that.
As did I.
But also as that is part of your initiation into the business in a way, right? So if you're willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see one responder to Sean. I don't have his name. There may have been others like him, but said something to the effect that I thought was interesting, that unpaid internships make it so that somebody who is economically challenged, per se, they can't participate because if their family doesn't have the money to support them commuting in and out of New York
Mm-hmm.
and spending that time making no money when they might have to spend that time making money to
Mm-hmm.
live, that puts people at a different economic level at a disadvantage.
It for sure, I understand that totally, which is why I only had them work 18 hours a week, and some of it was overnight and weekends. So theoretically, and I would work with the kids, like, if they're doing a part-time job during the summer, to make money, that they still had, in my opinion, ample opportunity to do that. So and you also are dealing with students because they had to get college credit. It wasn't that anybody without any that wasn't going to college was going to apply. So you'll already, just by the fact that they had to get college credit, you're dealing with someone who can afford to go to college, even with student loans or what have you. So perhaps I was drawing from a higher socioeconomic group to begin with, since it wasn't
Right.
open to non-college students because it was unpaid and they had to get something for it, and that was the college credit.
So what's interesting with that is not only were the internships unpaid, you had to pay to get the college credit. You had to pay your college for those credits,
Yes,
right? As part of the
I would
internship.
guess
I
you had to
believe
pay
so.
for a summer class, sure.
Yeah, the class was an
Hmm.
internship.
Yeah,
So you were paying whatever it cost for a
right.
credit at the
But that was
school.
just we weren't unique in that. That was just the way it was.
Yeah. But you could really say that about really starting out in many industries. If you are coming from not a strong economic starting point,
Hmm.
well, it's hard to make minimum wage at the radio station,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If you count your commuting in cost and that sort
sure.
of things.
Yeah. And I don't know what our part-time rate is right now, but I don't know if it's above the national. I think it is above the national minimum wage, I believe, because the states will determine what, they'll have the whatever the national minimum wage is, and then I think the states have their own
Yes,
as well.
so we would have to be running the New York State
Correct,
minimum
which I
wage.
think
Yeah.
is above the national average, but it's
Oh
still
yeah.
not a lot. But New York is very expensive to get
Yeah.
around and to live. So
Yeah. I never. I didn't do an internship in New York City mainly because I was afraid to come into New York
mhm.
and less economics. I ended up doing an internship at a radio station in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Mhm.
Um, but I would think of that too, like, just the commuting into New York. It's a tough spot because you do get valuable experience doing an internship, but you are making a sacrifice of I've got to commute in, I'm not getting paid, and is this going to be worth it for me?
Mhm.
So me doing the internship at a small radio station, I probably could have done more, but part of doing it in a small place, I was watering the plants. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like we would never have an intern here water plants,
No.
paid or unpaid.
Right.
They were not watering plants.
Right, and we didn't have them get coffee
Right.
or move boxes or whatever, and by the way, if I did ask them to move a box, I was also moving the boxes right along with them.
Right. Like give me a hand.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny though. But in other ways too, like part of my experience in the internship at this small radio station in Elizabeth was I was, watering the plants. Yes, I was running down to the deli to get a sandwich for the afternoon
Mhm.
guy. But in that time, I was interacting with the afternoon guy who had spent a career in New York City and was on sort of this downward trend in his career. Now he's at this tiny station,
Mhm.
Elizabeth. And there were some valuable conversations in that,
Sure.
um, more like, please don't do this for a living
Yes.
type
Right.
conversations, which we all got,
Yeah.
right?
I used to well, I didn't say, "Please don't do this for a
No, I'm
living,"
saying when you
but
were interested
yes.
in this, were people telling you not to
No.
do this? No.
No, they did not.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, this was still the early days of FAN, and, my dad really didn't know anything about the industry, although he, almost fell off the chair when I told him what my first full-time salary was. So, um, he goes, "You better hope your wife makes some money." So, yeah,
What was your first full time?
23,000
23.
in 1991.
So 24 grand would be $2,000 a month before
Yes,
taxes. You were
correct.
under that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I remember when people were telling me not to do it, I never thought about sports talk.
Mhm.
I was more like wanted to be a radio DJ.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why everyone was telling me, what are you doing? But I remember my mom and dad went to a wedding where there was a guy, I think the guy's name was Chuck Leonard. And there may have been many Chuck Leonards over the years, but there was a Chuck Leonard who I believe was working part time at CBS FM at the time.
And this is not Mr. Leonard, although he is
No,
Mr. Leonard, not Mr. Leonard.
wasn't Z100's Mr. Leonard. But this guy was DJing at a wedding, probably to make money on the side.
Mhm.
And my mom went up, "Oh, my son wants to be a DJ." And he gave my mom his business card with the note, "Do not do this for a living." I would love to find that. I must have that
Mm.
somewhere.
Well, what I used to tell the, interns once they were here, I say, "If you're gonna be okay driving a 10-year-old Honda Civic, then, okay, this might be for you. If you wanna be driving a Lexus, not so much."
Yeah. Which is why I had switched to sales because I saw all the salespeople in Tampa that would come to the radio station. They were all driving beautiful cars. I
Mhm.
was like, what am I doing? But
But
that's not fun.
no, and I don't have whatever it is
Yeah, me neither.
to sell. I would be terrible
I
at
was
it.
terrible.
I would be starving.
Yeah. Yeah, there are people that are really good at that and
Yes.
people that are really bad at that.
Yeah. I would be, in the really bad category.
And I did have a guy in Tampa when I was working in sales. I was working there as a producer, then I switched to sales. But when I was in sales, I would always be hanging out in the back where the producers were, where the on-air people were.
Yeah.
And the one guy said to me, he's like, "What are you doing in sales?" I said, "Well," I go, "you can't make money doing this." He said, "If you're good and you stick with it, you could.
Yeah.
Like
You can
it
make a
is
living.
possible." Meanwhile, that guy I think was making really good.
Yeah.
He was on the country station #1 for a long time. He probably made a really nice living.
So right. So in the tail end of the glory days for jocks.
Yeah. Oh, he was probably right. That was probably right in the sweet spot. That had to be 98.
That's late. I'm talking about like the '80s with Muni and all
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah, those guys making a killing. Oh, man,
Mhm.
could you imagine just, like, spinning records and talking in between records? Oh, what a
Yeah,
job.
that I might be able to handle.
What a job, Eddie. All right, let's do the warm-up show. I did
All
that
right.
with CeeLo.
Okay.
Tomorrow is Friday.
It is.
Ooh, and, Jerry will be out again tomorrow. I'll do that with CeeLo again
Do we know
tomorrow.
where he is tonight?
I don't. Oh,
He's
Illinois.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Illinois.
yes, the fight in Illini. Yes.
Yes, Illinois, Rutgers. All right, we'll see you tomorrow on a Friday.
See you.
So